Hello and welcome back to Wyrd Wessex. My name is Craig.
And I'm Andy, and we are not in the studio today.
Not in my studio.
Not in my flat. We are at Butser Ancient Farm for their Beltane celebration.
Yeah, you can see this fabulous gentleman behind us here. This is the Wicker Man that they will be burning this evening.
It's it's about 30-something foot tall, nearly 40 foot tall, I think.
And I believe it's based on Ötzi the Iceman.
Yeah.
We are trying to track down the person who made it, so hopefully we might get them on in a bit.
So every year, since the 80s, I think, they've had a Beltane celebration here and burnt a Wicker Man. A few years ago, they actually did a Wicker Man from the Wicker Man film because it was the anniversary.
Yeah.
They've had a giant rabbit before. They've had all sorts of things. It's a different model every year. And this one is really impressive. It's my first Beltane here. You've been here a few times now, have you?
No, I think the only other Beltane I did was last year.
Okay, so it's pretty new for you as well.
Yeah.
I've celebrated Beltane before, and I've run Beltane events, but nothing on this scale. It's there's a lot of people here at the moment. There's hundreds at the moment. It's going to be thousands when the site opens later on. So
yeah, so we don't have a plan for this episode really. We're just going to kind of bimble around the site, talking to people, try and find some interesting people to get on. We've got some people with some ghost stories to tell after dark as well, and obviously the burning of the Wicker Man.
Yeah, we just met someone who organises hand fastenings here at Beltane as well, which apparently has a tradition. So we're going to try and speak to them. There's a lot of people I've spotted around that because I know a bit about Beltane, but I think we could learn some more, couldn't we?
I don't think there's an awful lot to know, is there? And it's a Gaelic tradition, Irish and Scottish.
It sort of went out of fashion in the sort of 19th, early 20th century, then had a revival, a lot of that tied to neo-paganism. It was a fire festival and sort of fertility festival, but mainly a celebration of the oncoming summer. You know, the winter's buggered off. You know, it's all bright ahead. The waxing sun. You know.
And a lot like wassailing, like traditions change as well. So one of the things they do here is people come along and they can write wishes, I think they call them, or just notes, and put them in the fire. Well, not in the fire, but in the wicker, ready for this evening.
I did see you popping up there just before we recorded.
I did. I had to get in before they told me I couldn't. So this won't make sense if you're watching a later episode. My dog died a couple of weeks ago. And we had his ashes back, but we didn't have any kind of funeral for him. So to celebrate the life of Fu, or Puka as he was better known, I brought some of his ashes along, and they're actually in the left leg of our Ötzi the Wicker Man.
Well, I mean, what else can we hope? Any of us hope for our funeral? You know,
it's epic, isn't
it? It is pretty epic. It is pretty epic.
Of a shih tzu. Come on. So yeah, I'm not seeing it as a bleak thing, but it's just kind of like
poignant, you know.
Closing of the doors for that period of time. I think. As I say, we haven't done anything at home. We've got most of the ashes still to use. We're going to spread in his favourite places like the beach and at Moorforge.
I thought you were going to wait for other festivals like Samhain and Imbolc and stuff like that, you know.
We may well do. But we thought this was a nice one for a send off for Puka.
So yeah, with Beltane, we're hopefully going to find out a little bit more about the festival, about its origins, or mainly what it means to people now as well. You know, it's there is a bit of folklore that I know that's attached to it. Beltane grass, for example, when you get the dew on grass on the Beltane morning, that's supposed to be lucky. And you mentioned the ashes from the fire as well.
Yes. So apparently you're supposed to keep a bit of the ashes. I think you use it sort of on your lands as like a blessing of the land. So I'll probably scoop some up in the morning if it's cool enough, because
I could take some to the ATC. I don't have any land. I live in a flat. The window box, sprinkle some on the window box, you know.
Yeah, might help.
I heard another interesting one as well. It's apparently Beltane morning, before sunrise, is the best time to plant cucumbers. But it's got to be Beltane morning, got to be before sunrise, got to be done by a young man, and apparently they've got to be naked.
Sounds like a euphemism. Planting your cucumbers on Beltane morning by a young naked man.
We're not that kind of podcast.
Okay. So on that note, I think we're going to go for a wander and see if we can find anyone that wants to have a chat with us.
And and this evening we'll be having a look at festivities and getting some footage of this guy behind us going up as well. So
yes, and I know at least 2 people with ghost stories, possibly a UFO story. So we will try and bring some weird to it.
There'll definitely be some weird. You're giving a dog a funeral in a a shit to a funeral and a giant leg of a giant Ötzi. I think we're going weird already.
Yeah, that almost sounds like something that was written by AI, doesn't it?
The whole podcast is. Well, let's get to it.
Yeah, let's go.
Tell me, Ma, when I go home, the boys won't leave the girls alone. Pull my hair and slow my comb, but that's alright till I go home.
So we are here with Earth to Rebirth. Do you want to just tell us real quick what you guys do?
Hi, so we are doing hand fasting ceremonies here today. We've got 6 hand fastings in honour of Beltane. I'm Eva.
I'm Sarah.
And is there a tradition of hand fastings with Beltane? Does that go back into the folklore, into the history of Beltane?
Stole my question.
Yeah, very much so.
Yes.
So
It was for a year and a day, traditionally, and people would, on Beltane Eve, would meet up and then make the commitment to be together for a year and a day, and then obviously that was kind of where it went from. And they would have their hands tied, as in hand fasting, and jump a broom, and that was the legal requirement for it.
How long do they have to stay tied together for?
I don't know, that could be awkward.
Oh yeah.
maybe. Well, in theory, like metaphorically, they're tied together.
Yeah.
Obviously, that day they can take it off. I don't know, originally, traditionally. But May Day was a fertility festival as well. So they'd be dancing around the maypole.
Yeah.
Hand fastings would take place. Obviously, fertility rites would happen in the evening. And yeah,
How far back does hand fasting go? Do you know?
I'm not sure when it was first recorded, but it's a long time.
It is
It's a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, you've got obviously the origins of it go back, they think, to sort of like the Iron Age Britons of Beltane, but it was carried on like quite a long time, and it's going for a revival, isn't it? But it was carried on right up to like the early 1900s. So, do you think it's a year and a day? So you can't just like go and get someone else to follow in Beltane. You got to commit a little bit more than that.
It could be.
When you could go and ask somebody else to follow in Beltane, because the idea was to see how well you'd get on for that year and a day, so it almost gives people a bit of a get out as well.
Yeah.
Like there was that reason
Yeah.
to it as well, for it being a year and a day.
And so are these people I'm guessing they've contacted you beforehand. They want their hand fasting here, coming from all over, I'm assuming.
Yeah, some of them are travelling. I can't think, but yeah, they're not all local. And
Yeah.
we've been speaking for the past 8 weeks, creating their ceremonies and
Yeah, making it so that it includes the elements that they want to have included in their hand fasting that would be meaningful for them, to make it, the most memorable for them as a couple.
And are those going on in this roundhouse here? Are the hand fastings happening in here? I did spot the brooms in there.
yeah.
What wonderful place to have it happen. So if people want to learn more about what you guys do, maybe get a hand fasting with you. Just out of interest, do you take like sign-ups on the day? Do people come along like, actually we want to?
Unfortunately, no, because you did have a couple that emailed you the next day, didn't they? Saying that they'd seen Eva here, because Eva was here with someone last year, and they saw you and literally emailed you the next day.
Yeah, and they're here today.
And they're here today. They're one of the couples that we're hand fasting today.
Oh, fantastic!
They're
Oh, that's
doing a vow renewal. So we've got actually 3 couples doing a vow renewal. We've got 1 couple where this is pretty much their wedding, and 1 couple where 2 engagements or commitment type ceremonies. Yeah. And one of them actually is they're doing their hand fasting today, and then they're officially tying the knot next May.
Oh, that's fantastic.
And the proper year and a day. Ish.
Ish.
But they are looking to bring these back as a legal ceremony now as well. In England, in Scotland, they're still legal. But
Yeah.
Yeah, a celebrant friend of mine has been talking about the same thing, and she performs a lot of hand fastings as well. And it just seems, I've been to a couple. It's just such a wonderful thing,
The whole industry of weddings has become such, it's been taken over by people wanting to have so much, and then people have ended up, ended up with spending so much money and it then becoming this like monster that takes over. Whereas, to have something that's simple and more meaningful to the person, to the couple, crafted to you in a space that is more meaningful to you rather than going into a registry office or going into a church or something like that. It makes it a more memorable experience for them as a couple.
And it's so much more fun, isn't it?
Oh yeah,
People
totally.
do all sorts of things.
You don't get to jump over a broom in a church.
No.
You might, but you probably get kicked
Right,
out.
a chalice and a dagger, right? Or exchange your rings on swords, or there's so much you can do.
And an open fire.
Yeah.
Open fire,
Exactly.
jumping the fire if you wanted. Is it being Beltane?
As long as you've no fire, fire retardant robes.
So you want to watch the length of that skirt or that dress or that kilt, I guess, whatever you got draping down there. So if people want to find out more about what you guys do, if they want to look to you guys for a hand fasting, where can they find you?
We're on Facebook and Instagram,
Yeah.
Earth to Rebirth,
Yeah.
because this is part of what we do. We also make deerskin drums as well.
It's quite a mix.
Yes,
It is. It's cool though. It's good fun.
it is. Never a dull moment.
Brilliant. Well, yeah, thank you for talking to us, and enjoy your day here, and I hope it goes well.
Thank you. So we are here with Here Be Flagons. Welcome to the podcast.
Hello.
You all right?
Yeah, thank you for coming on. Tell us a little bit about what you guys do.
Hello, we are Here Be Flagons, and we kind of living music history. We cover musical instruments dating about 60,000 years worth of history, through kind of Paleolithic, Neolithic, Mesolithic through to the mid 1900s.
That's cool. That just entire sense that was brilliant.
We enjoy a good carnix, as you can tell, but we play instruments from across history, and we give people the opportunity to play them as well. So we have a bit of a jam. Let everybody get involved. We've got things as late as the hurdy-gurdy, but as early as sort of Neolithic, sort of ocarinas and bone flutes from the Paleolithic and everything in between. Do a good line on Roman music now as well.
That's a good line on.
Thanks to a sort of request that we had. But yeah, no, we just enjoy talking about history, getting people involved in history and music.
So what got you doing this in the first place? What did you wake up one day and went, I want a carnix? I mean, I've had that moment before, but it's quite a specialised thing.
I'd all been awake for a while, but it was we play music. The group is in with the two of us are in a band.
You can plug your band. Go on, plug Nevermore. Go on.
So
Yeah, that's it. That's someone completely different.
Mike and I are in a band called Neverworld, and we have been for about 10 years, maybe a little bit more now.
14.
But yeah, that history and working together with people in places like this, we've kind of gathered a bit of a merry band together. The Carnix, I just really wanted one. It was the coolest thing I'd ever seen. And with all the other instruments that we played, they're all kind of evolutions of instruments that existed that now. The Carnix disappeared 2,000 years ago, and that's the lure of that.
Yeah.
As you've used the word lure, I was told that it's the same thing as a lure.
Similar.
Yeah.
The lure basically means trumpet in Old Norse.
Okay.
The lure is basically a sort of Norse trumpet. The lure that is the bronze lures, big bronze lures that were like this, were Iron Age, so they were the same era as this, just in Norway and Sweden. But the lure itself has sort of historically been a wooden horn.
Okay.
And from what I understand, cattle with large horns were scarce in that part of the world. So nearly all of the trumpets and horns from from Scandinavia are made from wood. They discovered them aboard the sort of dragon ships and the longboats. I think that the ones in the Oslo Museum, some of those had one on board. But they're used domestically and, historically for coordination and whatnot. But they don't have a boar's head on the top. In fact, as Mike says, the Iron Age lures look like a brake disc on a stick. So not
I
quite
know
got the
exactly what
same-
you mean.
Yeah, not quite got the same
Yeah.
charisma as the Carnix, but yeah. So we're using the Carnix as a kind of like we need to do that. We need to. I want one of those, and I want to be able to play one. Kind of between us, expanded in all different directions, and learnt a lot about music from different eras. So as you can probably hear from behind us, there's some instruments going that are a little bit later in history. So you're sort of, you've got Renaissance instruments. We have a crumb horn, which Mike is really upset about, but then he plays a bagpipe. So but we've got to put up with that. So yeah, it's good. Between us, we can show off just about everything, and we have got a fair amount of instruments to show. We do our own events now. So if we're somewhere where it doesn't have to fit into a particular historical bracket, like a particular era, and we're allowed to bring everything, there's a lot there, and a lot for people to do, and some really surprising and sort of strange origins behind a lot of modern instruments. Yeah.
So you guys, I don't know if I can talk about this. You guys are touring with someone who's pretty cool.
You're
Go on.
responsible for this, so
I am indeed.
I've talked
So
about
yeah,
my love for Carnix.
these wonderful Carnices and ourselves have been on stage with the god of hellfire himself, the Mr. Arthur Brown and his crazy world. So yes, we are on tour with him this year, actually attending some of his shows. which
How
is
did
very,
that
very
happen?
cool.
He played our local venue.
Hitch him, right?
Yeah, he played Club
On the lead
85.
up to it, someone tipped him off that we lived locally.
Yeah.
And he contacted us and made noises down the phone at us, and basically said, "Can you come and play during the show?" So when we showed up, and he's brilliant. Arthur Brown is brilliant. But when we arrived, he didn't even know how we were going to fit into it. He just knew he wanted us there. So we had a little bit of a talk. We played it. We played the Carnix for him.
Yeah.
And they had a little huddle, and then they came back and said, "Right, you're at the beginning, the middle, and the end." So
Yep.
we've ended up we've been on stage with him twice now. We're playing the rest of his UK tour dates, or most of the ones that are reachable or doable. So yeah, we've become a part of the crazy world of Arthur Brown in a sort of weird twist of nonsense that's occurred since we started playing. Yeah.
That's fantastic. I've got to ask, A, we'd love to hear a little bit before you got to go, and B, we'd love to have a quick go.
Yeah.
If that'd be possible. You up for it, Craig?
Make a tit of myself. Yeah.
Another
Another one. Carnix number 3. Welcome to the podcast.
Oh.
Yeah.
If you want a demonstration, the right fellow just arrived. Because,
Hello.
Alex plays Carnix louder than anybody else.
Go for it.
Just like that. Now you go.
You're done. Hold that.
Hold my beer.
My Sid.
Yeah, in Asterix, they're seen clouting each other over the head with them. That stuff wouldn't fly.
Oh,
You'd soon end
it's
up with a
serious
busted
business.
Carnix.
The cloak's coming off. We know it's getting serious.
Hang on.
So-
just...
Like you play a horn, yeah?
Yeah. Like you said, like you play drums, exactly the same.
Little top
As
head,
far as I
aren't
can
they?
go.
No, I've dropped my mouthpiece.
Yeah, any other questions, Craig?
We could be here a lot longer, but I think for the sake of what
We
we're
need to
doing,
arrange a thing where you sort the food out and we sort the music out. That needs to be.
Come on, will I Vike
future
it?
collab.
Yeah, gotta go on Will I Vike it.
we can do a full interview with food. How's that?
Absolutely.
And I'm going to be hopefully getting.
Like a grove or anything like that.
We are going to hopefully get these guys down at the ATC as well. So I've got a big earth house you can do it in. So
Yeah, thank you.
fantastic. Thank you very much, guys.
For I'm no devil, I'm father to the land, and I have lived here since the earth began.
Hello, we are here with Damh the Bard.
Hello.
Could you settle a little argument we've had with a storytelling friend of ours?
Absolutely. Is it about the pronunciation?
It's about the pronunciation of your name. I hope you're watching, Dawn.
Okay, so officially, DAMH is Darv. And it's Scots Gaelic for stag, ox, or bard. But it's a Scots Gaelic word, and for me it means stag. But my name is David. So I just literally take the DAMH, and in Scots Gaelic, the MH is a verse sound. So I just say Damh the Bard. So, but you know, I've been called Damh, I've been called Damn, I've been called Dame. I'll answer to anything, doesn't matter. It serves me right for choosing a stupid name no one knows how to pronounce.
Adds to the mystery, though, doesn't it?
It does, absolutely, yeah.
I mean, I won't pretend that hasn't slightly settled it for me after like 12 years, whatever I've been listening to you for, you know. So, but yeah. First of all, you're playing earlier. That was fantastic. Is it your first time playing here, or?
Yes, my first time playing here. Last time I came here, it was 1998. It was a lot smaller. There was like 3 roundhouses, and literally 1 car park full of people. 1 storyteller in the roundhouse afterwards, and then a lot of us pagans, we went back to the embers of the Wicker Man, and we just spent the evening telling Mabinogi stories around the embers of the Wicker Man. It was a fantastic night, but very different to this.
Are we doing that tonight?
I don't know. I don't know. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah,
it's a very different event. So
yeah,
there wasn't that many people here. I would say there was probably 500 maximum, maybe 200 back then. Now there's 2,000. They might be a bit more strict about people sitting around the embers of the Wicker Man tonight. I don't know.
Have you played many Beltane events elsewhere, or is this kind of your first big celebration of Beltane?
Oh no, they've tried to book me for a number of years, and I've always been somewhere else. One of the years when they tried to book me, I was playing in Australia at an event called the English Ale that they have out near Adelaide every year. And I went out to Australia and I played there. And of course, in Australia, this time of year, Beltane is Samhain.
Yeah.
So that year, I went to a Beltane event, celebrated Samhain. So I didn't even have a Beltane that year. I was in the southern hemisphere, so I had 2 Samhains that year. Yeah, but yeah, it's always a very busy time. You know, any time around the festivals is busy. So yeah.
No, that's fantastic. I mean, as I said, for me, you've always sort of been the kind of wholesome face of sort of pagan folk. I mean, how long have you been doing this for?
I wrote my first song after a Wiccan camp in 1995. I went there. I wasn't initiated. I was still kind of looking for a path at that time, like you did back then. You know, look for a path. Yeah. And I just went to the campfire and I heard these beautiful Wiccan chants. And I thought, oh, this is fantastic. But it was a 7-day camp. And by the 4th night of going back to the campfire and hearing the same Wiccan chants, I thought, man, we need some songs. And I couldn't find any at that time. Yeah. So I thought, well, I'll write some songs that we can play around campfires. And that's how all this started. I didn't see any of this coming at all, you know. And what I didn't realise is that what pagans like around a campfire in Britain, they'll like around a campfire in Austria, they'll like in Prague, and you know, and yeah.
I mean, you see the success of like bands like Highland and Wardruna as well. You know, it's like people are really starting to get into it even more so nowadays and pay attention, aren't they?
Yeah.
What do you think is kind of leading to the growth of pagan events and pagan music?
I think that people for so many years now have felt separated from the natural world. And I think people with the likes of climate change and what's going on with the environment are just waking up to, and I also think that ultimately we are storytelling animals. Myth and story speaks to your soul.
Yeah.
And I think that it was missing, you know, that rise in Richard Dawkins' atheism did not last.
No.
And I don't think it gives anyone any meaning in life. And I think that this stuff gives people meaning. You know, there's this idea that a quest for life is happiness. I don't think it is. I think it's meaning. And I think if you can find meaning in life, you'll be happy. And I think that this pagan stuff that we do gives people meaning in life. It makes them connected with their land, connected with their old stories, connected with the natural world, connected with the myths, connected with the elements. I mean, what's not to be inspiring about it? And I just think as essentially storytelling animals, we need that as a species. And I think we're refinding it again.
I mean, when you look at the like just how evocative cave art is, for example, you know, we've always told stories like that. I mean, and it's just fitting into that. I mean, quite literally with storytelling, you've got done all 4 branches of the Mabinogi as albums.
3 of the 4.
Three of the 4. You still, yeah.
4th one's still to come.
I've got the first 2. I need to get the 3rd. Any update on when that's coming?
It's next. I've got an album. I've done an album of songs because I hadn't done an album of songs since 2015, and I really wanted to just write some songs. So that's coming out this week, and then I'm straight onto the 4th branch. So you know, it's on its way.
Lastly, what does Beltane mean to you?
Beltane to me is the coming together of 2 forces to create fertility of the land. You might call those the making and queen, you might call them life force and inspiration. It doesn't matter, you don't have to gender these things. But essentially it's that green that is only there between now and the summer solstice. As soon as the summer solstice comes along, that'll start going dark. Yeah. That green and the fertility and the vibrancy of the land and the returning of the swallows. I've seen there's another one. Is that one? Yeah, it is.
Yeah, there you go.
You know, dead on cue.
We need to get some stock footage of a swallow and put it in there.
Dead on
YouTube.
Cue. You know, that's you know, and the hedgerows dripping with May. You know, it's all about the land to me. It's not necessarily a human thing. It's about where we fit in with the cycles of life. You know, so yeah, that's what Beltane means to me.
That's fantastic, Dave. Thank you so much.
All right, mate.
Really appreciate it.
Yeah, I'll be looking up your podcast.
Please do. Please do. I'll look forward to the 4th branch.
Yeah.
Wyrdos from Wessex.
So we've just watched the burning of the Wicker Man at Beltane, and by coincidence we managed to bump into this chap, and you are...
My name is Mark Anthony Hayden Ford. I'm an environmental artist, and yeah, I made the Wicker Man this year.
And we've been on the hunt for you all day.
Yeah,
and
we've been
can't
wanting
believe
to
our
find
luck.
you for a while.
So yeah, how did you get involved with the project?
Oh, wow. In weaving in general or just the Wicker Man?
I think just the Wicker Man.
Just the Wicker Man this
yeah.
year? Okay, so last year I made the Wicker Phoenix, which was essentially a massive cock. Big
Yeah.
woven bird
Yeah.
last year. So they said, could I come and make it again this year? The theme for this year was based on an archaeological dig. So a new building at Butser Ancient Farm had in one of the post holes some grooved ware. And so the Wicker Man was holding a grooved ware pot. And he was a groovy guy. He had a medallion and he had funky trousers and quite a beard.
Nice. That was going to be the next question, was what inspired the design. So
Yeah, so
There we go. It's taken.
we've been a great shot, isn't it?
Just to fill out, we wanted to fill you in. We wanted to get this in shot, and it's been waiting to burn the spearhead there of the groovy guy. It's the last bit of his visible stuff still standing, and it's I've been waiting for it to catch fire for a while, and it's finally going up.
Yeah, it's interesting how the idea develops from some Stone Age man. He was a stargazing Stone Age funky guy, and so he needed to have a spear. And I'm excited. I'm glad actually. So I started cutting the willow in January.
Yeah.
We put those 2 poles up that you can see the frame in February, and then as I wove the legs upwards, I made the platforms and all worked up from the inside. So there's no scaffolding involved. It's all as I think maybe they would have done it 2,000 years ago.
So you put the poles up in February, you said. When did you start actually weaving? When did you start the weave? Directly afterwards?
Yeah, that week.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
how does it feel to spend so long making something to watch it go up in just a few minutes?
Actually, I was really happy to see the bird the last year, watch
Yeah.
the burn last year, and the Viking longship that I made last September.
Yeah, I was there as well.
I was more emotional actually. I think there's been more time and emotion invested in the build this year.
Yeah.
And I'm sad to see him go, but now it leaves space for the next thing, which should be an even better Viking longship than last year.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be. It was 9 meters last year, and I'm going to make it longer and taller and bolder. Yeah. In September the 21st, I think.
I'll be there for that one as well. We always come along to that one.
I'm guessing if you've done this for 2 years now, if you've been involved with Butser for that time, sort of the place and Beltane itself probably become quite special to you.
Well, I got married on Beltane on Chanctonbury Ring
Yes.
with my wife 2005. And I grew up very close to a national park called Kingley Vale, some yew trees, some very, very old yew trees there. So my family moved to Sussex in 1700, so I'm very rooted in this land and connected to the natural materials of this landscape.
So you spend your anniversaries here.
Absolutely.
I love that. What a better place, you know.
Better place.
Yeah, what a better place.
And actually, I can say now that I actually put a bit of my dog
Oh, did you?
into the ashes because he died a few
the
weeks
ashes.
back. Yeah. And we didn't have a chance to sort of say goodbye, have a funeral or anything like that. And so we brought a small piece along, which we tucked into one of the legs
It's a
today.
great send-off for your
So-
dog. Yeah.
This was for Foo the Shih Tzu.
But it was really phenomenal. You know, everyone, just from what I've overheard people talking about today, everyone's been saying how amazing the Wicker Man was. So, have you got any idea what next year's is going to be?
Well, no, I haven't. I mean, this year it started off as like a druid guy with horns banging a drum, and it ended up with what you see before you. So who knows what it will look like? But I'd quite like to do some sort of tree man or
That would be cool. That would be
Yeah.
very cool.
like an ent,
And it
basically.
would be
Yeah.
brilliant. Although they don't respond well to being burnt, though, and still they tend to start throwing rocks at you and things. You mentioned you're involved with another ongoing project here as well.
Yeah, so I was saying the Wicker Man was holding a grooved ware pot. So there was an archaeological dig, and they're doing a reconstruction of the building, and that's under construction here now. But what we're experimenting with, as this place is about trying to prove theories, is how do you attach thatch onto a building without using any string whatsoever? So I'm weaving the roof and then using spars will push the thatch on, and we'll see if it holds. So a string with no string, because there's lots of Iron Age, Bronze Age buildings. There's a lot of string. If you have a look around these the houses here, but a little bit too much. Because would you spend all that time making string? No, you wouldn't.
That's the thing. It takes time to actually make the cordage as well. You're completely right. It's interesting to see how that turns out.
I feel like we need to talk to you for a good hour or more because we could probably end up going all night with this one.
Yeah. Get going, but how can people? Because I mean, from
Oh
what
yeah,
I understand, how can you find out more about
Rebecca and I? We've been working as environmental artists or land artists for 20 years together. We're Two Circles Design. So you just search Mark and Rebecca Ford or Two Circles Design, and you'll see the work we've been getting up to over the last 20 years.
Brilliant.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Right, so we are in the Roman villa.
And it is my home for the night.
Yes, because we've heard rumours. And so we have an extra guest for the show that's going to tell us a couple of stories about the villa. You want to introduce yourself?
I'm Adrian. I'm part of the education team here at Butser, and I've had one particular experience here when, was it last month? I've stayed overnight. The Saxons were in. We had really bad weather, so instead of the Saxons all staying in the usual tents and stuff, some of them had set up in here.
Yeah.
So they cleared some of their stuff so I could sleep on the bed down there. And at some point in that, I think it was probably like 1 o'clock in the morning, something like that. I felt somebody in the room, so I've opened my eyes up, I've looked, and there was somebody standing by the fireplace. Tallish, beard, and I thought, one of the Saxons forgot something and they've come to pick some of the stuff up. So I've ignored it and gone back to sleep. And next day when I've queried, who came in? Nobody had come in. So it's pretty, and it's not the first time people have heard or seen stuff in the area.
Yeah, because we've heard the story of Will.
Yeah, so he was taking something out of one of the cupboards in the corridor, and he heard a voice saying, "All right, Will," and he said, "Yeah, all right," and he's turned around, there's nobody there.
Yeah.
But it was the same tone, intonation, and phrase that Peter Reynolds would have used, which is pretty cool.
So Peter was involved with building here?
Peter Reynolds was the guy who started Butser. He started the whole experimental archaeology thing with building roundhouses and the crops.
And I think I heard he never got to see this one complete.
No, I've been told he always wanted to build a villa on site, and he passed away before it was completed or even started.
Yeah, which kind of makes sense because I kind of initially I was thinking, well, it's a modern building. Why would there be any kind of ghosts, should we say? But that kind of gives it some merit.
It would be awesome if he still was here. I'd love to think that he did.
It would be fitting, really, wouldn't it?
Yeah. The other one I'd heard was about people have heard a crying baby. You know that one?
No, I've not heard of the crime baby. I know somebody saw somebody moving through the Iron Age village, and I think it was towards the villa. I'm not 100% on that one. And they looked around the site. There was nobody here. And Will showed that particular person video, and he said, yes, that's the person. It was a video of Peter Reynolds.
Okay.
So I think that's...
Yeah. Well, I'm glad I'm not sleeping in here tonight.
Are you sure you don't want to come and keep me company?
I think I'll stick with my flat airbed in the tent.
I honestly thought this. I was told it was going to be hard to get space in here tonight. So after the show, I rushed my kit down. I've got to find somewhere. I pitched up in the corridor in the corner. I was like, that'll be fine. And then I realised no one else is sleeping in here. So
I was slated to sleep here with my kids, but my daughter wanted to sleep in a roundhouse with the fire. So
fair enough.
So Andy's got this to himself tonight.
Yeah, the entire villa, I think. This is where I find out that later on that someone else is sleeping in here. I don't know about them yet, and I hear all these noises in the evening. You know,
it's Peter.
hopefully.
So yeah, we'll cut back into this in the morning and find out whether Andy had a good night's sleep, I guess.
Yeah, I'll keep my phone with me to
I'm turning mine off, so don't bother me.
I was thinking more like, recording or something, but yeah, maybe bug you. But if you're turning it off, I guess I'll have no one to call.
Oh, one other really quick point, because so we started off today with the Wicker Man outside, and I put a part of my dog's ashes, who died a couple of weeks back, into the fire, which we've mentioned on this episode. And very strangely, as soon as I came back from the burning and I sat down, I got a beep on my phone, and it was a message to say that the dog we want to adopt is ours.
Nice.
So there you go, there's closure.
Nice. Finish to that,
Yeah, the timing couldn't have been better.
Fantastic. Yeah, it's been a good day. It's been a good day. I'm saying that now before I spend the night in a potentially haunted Roman villa alone. So yeah, we'll check in the morning and see how it goes, I guess.
Yep.
And I'm back. Back home, actually. I had to nip off. A lift was on offer, the offer of a cooked breakfast, and I was absolutely terrified of the house, so just ran out.
So what experiences did you have?
I mean, I won't lie, I'd had a few drinks at that point.
Last time I saw you, you were in the Earth House. No, the Roundhouse, sorry.
I'll say the Earth House, wrong centre, man, wrong
Wrong
centre.
centre. Yeah, you were in the Roundhouse and people were drumming and it was quite loud, and then I went to bed.
Yeah, I stayed up for a fair bit longer between the Morris dancers and a couple of staff and Herodus Hundus. Yeah, I ended up staying up till about 2:30 in the morning. So, I was in a good spirit to go and see some spirits, I think, when I crawled back to bed. Nothing happened. I did wake up to some weird noises at about 4 in the morning.
What kind of noises?
Sort of like a grumbling, kind of shifting. And I looked over the balcony and it was Gary from Here Be Flaggin' asleep downstairs. So it wasn't alone. He crawled into the bed downstairs.
But that's where the story happened of the guy that was sleeping and saw.
It is. I did ask him over. We went and got breakfast the next day, and I asked him about it, and nothing paranormal happened to him. Maybe he was too drunk. I don't know. I did wake up with a headache. Maybe that was something paranormal.
So in the morning, Ocean was asking whether we could sneak into the villa to try and scare you. I thought that was quite... Yeah.
How early in the morning?
Oh, it would have been about 7, I guess.
Okay, because I got up about 8.
Yeah. You were still in there at this point.
So you'd have just heard the noises of 2 blokes snoring and farting, I reckon.
She took one peer inside the front door and the corridor was dark. She went, I'm not going in, it's too dark.
Oh, no. I would like to actually stay up there one night. I would like, maybe next time I'm going to try and stay up for the night and, yeah, see if anything else happens. Because, I did hear a bit of a few stories about it. I mean, obviously we heard from, was it Adrian?
Yes. I think it was, right? Which is going to sound really weird to people watching this because that would have been like 2 minutes ago. And
I'd had a few drinks, and this is this is after the event. I'm home now, but
it was about 5 days ago. So
it was, yeah. And I again, to stress, I'd had a couple of drinks at that point.
I still find it slightly strange just because it's a modern building, but I guess if it was it Peter, wasn't it?
If it's Peter, who Peter's the chap that founded the place, and apparently it was always his dream to see well, as we mentioned earlier, it was always his dream to see this villa built, and he was involved in the early process, but he sadly passed away before it could be completed. And the idea that he's sort of still there, as Adrian mentioned, it's not just that. Like, people have apparently seen his figure sort of walking through the village as well, which I quite like. I quite like that, the idea that you put that much of yourself into something, and a little bit of you'd remain. I quite like that.
And so there were other people I spoke to throughout the day that kind of told similar experiences sometimes they were telling me their version of the same stories, but there were some other people that had stayed on site alone and it had weird experiences too. So there's definitely
Yeah.
something about the villa.
Yeah, being like uncomfortable in there and passing through certain bits. That person that was dowsing in there and just like completely freaked out at one point. And it always goes back to that villa. None of the other houses, to my knowledge, have that attached to it. It's just the villa.
I've stayed there many times, and it was only recently that people started telling me about the villa. So I've not heard about anything else.
Have you ever stayed in the villa yourself?
No. Usually when I'm on site, they lock the villa up at night. There's only a couple of occasions in the year where they leave it open.
I'm wondering, I think they might have thought there was more people sticking around and they needed the space. I don't know. Or, I'm hoping I get a chance to again. It was quite a comfortable night's sleep. There was an actual bed there, so that was cool. No ghostly happenings this time, but maybe next time.
Yeah. And at the beginning of the episode, we did mention that a couple of people might come on and tell us stories. So just to quickly wrap up on those, one is Lewis. And Lewis has a story that revolves around another location that we're hoping to film at soon. So we said we'd hold on to Lewis's story for now.
Yeah.
And the other one was Paul, and Paul was having back trouble, so he had to go home and dose up on painkillers and things. So I think Paul's gonna give me a call at some point, and we'll have that as a separate little bit. But he's got a UFO story to tell us.
Yeah, and again, big shout out to Adrian, because by the time we'd finished, obviously it's a huge thing, Beltane at Butser. It's a huge event, loads of work goes into it. They all work really hard on it. And I think everyone was a bit knackered and wanted to go home by the time we got round to doing that bit. So real, big shout out to Adrian for actually coming and doing that bit with us, because we didn't think initially we were going to get anyone at all. And then he he turns up like below me in the villa, like I'm upstairs, he's downstairs, and he sort of gives this Roman salute and said, "You've asked for me." And there he was. So if you're listening to this, thank you.
Are we sure that he wasn't the ghost?
Maybe, yeah. Then no one mentioned an Adrian. They said there was one that worked there years ago, but he passed away in a tragic, I don't know, villa accident or something like a.
Because I don't know if we mentioned as well, there was a story about a crying baby as well that comes up a lot. People hear a crying baby. And that's connected to the original villa where they found the remains of a baby buried under the threshold.
And there's always a skeleton in the wall, apparently.
That's what they say. That's what they say. And yeah, I mean, with Will's story, we couldn't get Will to record with us. I think he'd had enough by the end of the day. And
yeah,
I think he's a little bit nervous of the villa. So he didn't want to hang around too long after dark.
He was marching around that thing I mean, to be fair, he was marching around everywhere pretty quickly that day. He was very busy, and he was in this Roman armor. It looked really cool. But yeah, he had quite a busy day. And as you say, I did get the impression he might be a little bit uncomfortable in the villa. He was certainly quite quick in and out when he was getting stuff. So yeah.
He was not hanging about, and there was a few other people in there as well.
Yeah, but it was dark. It was dark at that point. It's a very atmospheric place in the dark.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the mannequins are more scary, to be honest.
Mannequins are terrifying, man.
You turn a corner and they're stood there.
It's got me so many times, those sort of things. It's like I'm very glad we don't have them at the ATC. I'm very glad we don't have them at work. I refuse. Although we used to have, we got a full size skeleton, right? Like a full size prop skeleton there, and we used to put it in the corner. And Ruben, Anthony, a colleague of mine's son, when he was younger, he was quite scared of the skeleton. So we put a massive bear. We got a bear costume, of course we do for some reason. So we put this bear costume on it and stuffed like bags of wool inside to pad it out. And turns out that was even more terrifying. But I was sleeping. I was sleeping in the office one night, and the cleaners came in really early at like 5:30 in the morning, and they sort of walked in, looked at, and I woke up as they walked in, and they looked at the bear and sort of went, "Ah!" Like literally both of them at the same time, like just shouted, and then I started, and they looked down at me and was like, "Ah!" So yeah, they can't, even grown men. But yeah, no mannequins for me. They are creepy. They're up there with clowns.
Shall we do some weird news?
I reckon we should do some weird news. Do you want to go first?
Go on then. Go on then. I got a good one. This one comes from the Mirror. The headline is Fears UK's own Bigfoot stalking national park with huge clue growling creature can't be human.
I see. What's the clue?
I don't know. I have to read it and find out, won't
Please do.
I? So yeah, this is a story about the South Downs. So actually, it's in the area of Butser, which is why I thought it was a good one to
Nice.
include. Britain's very own Bigfoot may be roaming one of our national parks, terrified locals say. Fishermen making late-night visits to an idyllic lake in the South Downs have revealed that a growling creature patrols the area and has been spotted escaping down a dangerous hill that no human would dare to venture the incline. Anglers concluding the strange noises and bumps in the night are the result of an elusive creature.
Ooh.
Members of the Cryptid and Paranormal Investigations group on Facebook observed multiple instances of close calls with a creature so evil that it made the fishermen up sticks and depart straight away. And then there's a quote from a Mike Brown who says, I felt incredibly on edge. It was a feeling I can honestly say I'd never experienced before or since. It really was as if something was watching me and I was not welcome.
Oh, wow.
Fellow group member Michael Brindle says he experienced a similar feeling when fishing on the banks of the UK's national park, adding he encountered something large running on what I think was two legs on the opposite bank in the darkness. Those unnerving stomps in the wilderness prompted Michael to pack up and scarper after he felt the hairs on his arm stand up. I was dozing on my chair next to the rods when I was woken by a loud growl from the opposite bank, he said. The pair.
So go on.
There's more. The pair noted the growling beast had made its way to and from the area from such a steep incline that no human could dare to tackle it without risk of serious injury. Mike said, I think, though the most standout thing is the terrain being covered in the dark, it sounds dangerous enough to attempt in the daylight, let alone in the dark. When you can't see any obvious signs of torchlight, that's the really scary part because no human could do it without suffering injury. I think that's pretty much, basically it. Yeah.
Until you mentioned it running on two legs, I thought maybe we need to give Paul a call back, you know, which won't make sense because that's going to come out on a later episode.
Wow. Future callback.
Callback. Remember this callback. Back to the future callback.
It's all right. We still haven't released the episode on dreams yet where I say my dog's just died, even though in this episode we had a funeral for him.
That's it.
We're going to have to do a time slip episode.
We'll do time slips one day. Or maybe we've already done it. Yeah, that's do you reckon it's the aliens dropping them off for a wee? This Bigfoot?
Yeah, it could be. I don't know. It's weird.
It is weird. It is weird. The fact is multiple people. I mean,
I don't see how something like a Bigfoot could exist in the UK without being seen. But again, if we go back to that theory that the aliens are dropping them off for a wee, then
exactly.
They're not here all the time, I guess. Or are they using portals? Maybe they're kind of dipping in and out of our existence.
Or maybe it is more paranormal than that.
Or maybe these guys don't know what they're talking about. It was dark and they couldn't see anything and they heard some noises and got scared.
Every time I've gone night fishing, I've had a few drinks. Probably why I don't catch anything, but you know, it's part and parcel of it.
Yeah,
it's sort of it's a beer out in a field with your mates with with rods. Basically,
you're fishing in a field, are you?
Well, there's a lake attached to the field. It depends how many beers we've had, I guess.
So you need to learn to fish better, mate.
That's probably why I'm not catching anything. Went fishing, caught a rabbit. So my one is from the Daily Mail.
You keep going to the Daily Mail lately. This is concerning.
I know. It's yeah. It feels dirty. But it's given us a good headline.
Brilliant.
Las Vegas teen left traumatized by 8-foot-tall demon creature in his backyard reveals he witnessed more paranormal activity inside his home as enlisted the help of a priest to vanquish the malevolent being.
Go on.
A Las Vegas teenager left traumatized after seeing an 8-foot-tall demon in his creature backyard. Oh, that's just the headline again. Angel Kenmore, 17, spoke out about how the mysterious incident that he says took place of April last year when he saw a giant creature that he believes was a demon. There is a link to that. I won't go into that now. The latest paranormal activity included a floating crucifix that had Jesus ripped from it and pages of the Bible being flipped through in a room with no breeze.
Ooh.
Due to this, he explained that he had enlisted the help of a priest to say prayers over the house, which seemed to have calmed things down. Speaking to News Nation, he explained, I was in another room. My brother called me and there was an upside-down cross. There was a Jesus statue in it. They ripped Jesus out and threw it across the room, and it was floating in the air upside down. He continued, I did nothing. We got close to it and it fell down. I was chilling and there was a Bible just flipping the pages. It was steady. It wasn't like the air, like something was holding it. As soon as I got close to it, it dropped again. This was inside. I guess it's a demonic presence, naturally. We had a couple of priests come over to the house and pray over the house, and everything seems to be normal again. I did him an explanation to what it is. The priest said it might be fallen angels, demons or fallen angels, something like that. Right now, we feel good. It's been a lot of time since the priest came over. I was pretty scared. I was traumatized. Soon, we're going to move away from this house. He described it as traumatizing and has since been plagued by paranoia, struggling to make sense of what he saw during the eerie encounter. He also described the event last year in which he claims he saw an 8-foot-tall demon creature with big shiny eyes. We're in the backyard and then out of nowhere we just saw a big light fall down. It basically crashed into the backyard and a couple of seconds later I saw a big creature in front of me. He said it was tall, skinny, lengthy creature with greyish green in colour. When I looked in its eyes, my body just froze, like the same experience of having sleep paralysis. I'm staring at him and looking at his whole body, and he has his weird-looking feet and a big face and eyes. You could see a big mouth. The frightening encounter with a non-human being prompted Kenmore to call 911, and officers with the Metro Las Vegas Police Department dispatched. Body cam footage shows a strange blue ball of light flashing across the sky about 11:50 on April the 5th, 30th. Approximately 39 minutes after the first call, another resident dialed 911, saying there were two unknown entities in the backyard after he saw an object fall from the sky. In the late, I feel this is like three weird news stories in one.
This is it, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
We need to do an episode just on this, I think. Get the guy on. In the latest interview, Kenmore said he remembered the creature was growling in his backyard like a dog. It was moving and breathing. It was pissed off, like it wanted something, like wanted to do something, looking at me. There is a video actually.
So that part to me is very much along the lines of the Mothman.
I was thinking Mothman.
That fits the Mothman kind of MO.
Yeah.
And the Mothman never really, no one's ever really attacked by Mothman. They just see it, don't they? It's usually an omen of something bad's going to happen or a warning.
Or he explained the sleep paralysis thing. He said, at the moment, he felt like the supernatural being had control over my body. I couldn't move. Despite facing numerous threats and questionings, Kenmore and his family have remained steadfast in their account of the experience from last year. I mean, you might not believe him, but who's going to threaten him over that? You know, that's who.
Did I tell you I had a dream about Mothman last week?
Really?
I did. My dreams are normally pretty boring, but I don't remember a lot about it. I remember I was in the woodlands with someone. It might have been Emma. And I had a torch, and we knew this creature was out there. And as I shone the torch around, it shone across the Mothman. And kind of like, shit, look, the Mothman, it's the Mothman. And then when I put the torch back onto it, it was gone, and I didn't know where the fuck it was.
Damn.
Yeah, I woke up.
I think we need to go hunting in the woods again. Yeah, and he just goes on to him claiming he doesn't want any money from it. He's not doing it for money. Heard something fall from the sky. I turn around. The only thing I see is a big light fall into the sky and then impact to the bang. There were 2 Air Force bases nearby, and there's a theory that a piece of aircraft might be behind the crash.
Yeah. Okay.
Although the Air Force bases have denied being involved.
Of course they
Also
do.
mentions possible equipment malfunction, which the government collects. Another theory suggests that a meteor may have caused a streak in the sky, with the American Meteor Society confirming 21 reported sightings of it stretching across California, Nevada, and Utah. And that's it.
So the Exorcist bit is interesting too, though, from earlier on.
Yeah.
Because as we've mentioned before, they're quite, well, they should at least be quite reluctant to perform anything like that. They're
It's
supposed
not
to send you,
exorcism, is it? It's just prayers over the house.
I guess. Yeah. I was going to say, because that would give it some credence, because then they've not sent him to a psychiatrist. They've gone.
No.
But yeah, you're right. I suppose that's not
quite as invasive.
Yeah.
I mean, it was. I'm assuming he didn't pay these priests, so I'm assuming they did it for free. So they might have thought there was something behind it.
Are you hearing the beeping that I'm hearing?
Oh, that's possibly me. I don't know.
It sounds like someone's getting messages.
Oh, it's my Discord. Apologies. Go away. Yeah. So, yeah, it's an interesting one, that one. I think, as I say, it's like 3 stories in one.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not the first encounter he's had, whether it's related or not, or whether he's just susceptible to these kind of things. Who knows? Well, I think that's about it from us.
Not quite.
Oh, you got something else?
Well, I was just going to give a little plug to a past guest. I received this book in the post.
Hey.
The Deathly Dark Tales by Dr. Dorian Deathly.
Is that his real name?
That is his real name. I haven't read the whole thing yet, but it's pretty good. But I particularly wanted to bring it up because...
Hey, look at that.
He signed it, Stay Weird. And he spelled it right.
And me. Oh, wait, sorry. I thought we...
I should have got him to write that in the back.
Oh.
Yeah. I only realised last week that he had a book. So I ordered it. And I sent him a message and I said, because they're signed books. And I'm like, can you write Stay Weird in my book?
Oh, you shouldn't have said that. We might have made it sound like you actually listened to our podcast.
Right, I'll cut that. He's too busy for podcasts.
That's it.
Living his double life.
Oh, well, oh, that's cool, man. That's cool.
Yeah, it's just lots of really short tales. I mean, some of them are like you get an idea from. They're just some of them are just a few lines. They're rather weird, conveniently.
That's handy.
But yeah, I haven't had a chance to read it yet. I just thought I'd mention it. If anyone wants to order one, then go to Dorian Deathly's Instagram and message him. Seems to be the best way.
And get him to write Stay Weird in yours as well, because, why not?
And me.
And me. Yep, thank you very much for tuning in. It's been a fun one, this one. Yeah. Guess we'll have to do a Sawain one now if we do a Beltane one.
Have to find somewhere to film it.
Glastonbury.
All right then. Sorted. Yeah. Yeah, so remember to like our pages on Instagram, Facebook, Wyrd Wessex. You can email us wyrdwessex@pm.me. We've nearly been banned from TikTok again. So again, probably not worth following us on TikTok because they don't like us.
Yeah,
they're suppressing our culture.
Decided the Burning Man was an actual Burning Man, and it was too violent to be on TikTok, I think.
It got removed for violating community guidelines. And apparently if we have too many of those, we get banned from TikTok. So I don't know, that's kind of a badge of merit for the podcast, isn't it?
Right.
The only podcast to be banned from TikTok.
Banned from TikTok, right?
You can join the Discord. You can send us some money if you like our podcast on Patreon. Follow us on socials everywhere, Wyrd Wessex.
Fantastic. Well, until next time, stay weird. As the book says.
My book doesn't say anything else, so and me. Oh, I forgot to mention my ash too. This is for those that really do wait until the episode ends.
Hey, you got your Beltane ash.
That's from the Wicker Man. There's a little extra. A little extra.
Hey, just write the W in front of that extra.
And me.
I'd have gone for some Beltane ash, but the call of a coffee and a cooked breakfast was too great.